Good morning. Live from the campus of the United States Sports Academy in Daphne, Alabama, this is Sports Talk, a presentation of the United States Sports Academy and its Department of Communications. I'm Dr. Arthur Ogden, Chair of Sports Management, and I serve as moderator. And each Wednesday morning at this time, we have a discussion with members of the faculty and staff. This morning, members of the panel are Dr. Fred Cromartie, to my right, who's Director of Doctoral Studies, and Mr. Ben Billman, who's Doctoral Teaching Assistant here at the Academy. Well, everyone's pretty excited because we won the World Cup. And we won the World Cup with a very, very good team. Our men's team didn't do quite as well, but this is the third time that the women's American team has won the World Cup. The last time they won it was 1999. No other team has won the World Cup 3 times. And they did it behind the tremendous play of Carly Lloyd, Megan Rapinoe, Hope Solo, and Lauren Holiday. But there were rumblings about the way it was managed and handled and some of the offside or outside or off-field events, which caused some people to have some very grave concerns. And we're going to take a look at the concern of a lot of people who have seen a lack of equity in the way the men's World Cup and the women's World Cup are treated by FIFA. And as we all know, FIFA is still in trouble, and even their president, or soon to be not president, did not even step foot here on Canadian soil because he had other commitments, plus he also did not want to be arrested. But here's some facts, some background facts, gentlemen, before we tackle this. First of all, no men's World Cup team plays on artificial turf, since artificial turf really lends itself to a lot of injuries. In addition to turf toe, their knees get really destroyed. 2, women's World Cup teams play their matches predominantly on artificial turf. In fact, the championships were played on artificial turf. No men's opposing teams reside in the same hotel residence during competition for the World Cup. However, it is a common practice to house the women's teams in the same hotels as their opponents. Imagine after you just beat the snot out of somebody going up to the room and you're in the elevator with them. Kind of tough. The total purse available to the men players in FIFA's World Cup last year was in the neighborhood of $500 million. The total purse for the women players in this year's World Cup, $35 million. Not quite sure how we get that difference of $500 million versus $35 million. So we tossed some more things out. I picked up a few things. Greta Van Susteren also hit this up. And the U.S. women on the World Cup team, they get $2 million. Oh, yeah. They won it. But our men's team that got knocked out in the first round got $8 million. The men on the German team that won the men's World Cup last year got $35 million. So, Sepp Blatter, is he running a sinking ship or what? What's going on here, gentlemen? Fred, you first.
Well, it just goes to show where you see the purses, right? We're all familiar with Wimbledon. They're playing right now. The purse for both the men and the women for Wimbledon tennis, as well as tennis for any of the majors, is equitable. Mm-hmm. Okay? It just goes to show that these entities are moving into the forefront, but yet there are several of them that aren't. Soccer's one of them, but let's go back and take a look at the WNBA. It's not comparable in terms of, the equity, in terms of salary and structure that the NBA has for itself, and the WNBA is a part of the NBA. We see it right now. Diana Taurasi's not playing because she makes more money playing in Russia. So those are situations they gotta lay all their cards on the table and take a look at that. But FIFA, it's not going to happen in terms of being able to bridge that gap, because look at all of the representation from these various countries in regard to their soccer federations. It's overwhelmingly men.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem. First of all, congratulations to the team. Big win over Japan. getting revenge from 4 years ago in the World Cup final, which was awesome. And Carly Lloyd, what a performance. 3 goals, and the team 4 goals in the first 15 minutes, just exceptional play. But I agree with you guys. It's a male-dominated FIFA organization right now. And across the world, they don't understand these U.S. women, what they're doing, the ratings that this World Cup final received. When I watched the game, the fans, just the craziness that they were having when the U.S. scored. It was a phenomenal aspect of the game.
Right, even some of the satellite sites they showed on television all around the country, there were people that were just going absolutely nuts. And just to add to what you're saying, not to cut you off, but we had an interview on this morning. I guess it was, I don't know, I watched Fox and Friends first because I'm up that early. Anyway, the announcer was saying, look at these fans here. And it was all over the place. And then they interviewed some of the team members. And they said, we didn't expect this. We expected, a lot of young girls, but it's everybody. And what was the ratings? I don't know, they had something like 22 or 28 million viewers. That's phenomenal.
Well, see, it worked out just fine because of the fact that it was in British, Columbia. And the fact of the matter is that it's the same time frame, basically. So 6 o'clock in the evening, it's there. But anywhere else, you've got that time difference. And some folks probably wouldn't have stayed up to watch the game if it was coming on at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's just not going to happen. It worked out perfectly from a ratings standpoint this time, and that was a good thing.
Yeah, I really think that those the team members were happy. Let's take a look for a minute. And does what FIFA commits now to the Women's World Cup, is this, do you think, a function of their business model, or is it a function of something else? Ben?
I think it's a function of the changing times. Sepp Blatter is old school in his thoughts, and he's made sexist comments in the past. As new leadership hopefully takes place in FIFA, my hope is that the new leaders and the next generation will provide more equity for the women. But I don't think it's the structure. I think it's more of the people in the leadership positions at this time that are causing the issue.
Well, I think that it's not just with Sepp Blatter. It's with all the member nations of FIFA. These nations, again, it's overwhelmingly, male-run, and that's where some of the changes got to take place. Okay, we had female representation for the female aspect of FIFA, but it's just not as effective. In order for it to really be strong and affect organization change, there have got to be some women that are in leadership positions that can bring about this change. It's great because remember, the women's side of it hasn't been around all that long. And now they have them there. I don't think FIFA ever really thought that women's soccer would really take off. And it has taken off. Yeah. And now it's overwhelmingly the Americans, because we're the only nation that's won 3 women's World Cups in a row. So folks are taking a look, and maybe some of this backlash has to do with the fact that if we're going to advance it, are we advancing it because of the fact that it's helping out the American, women's program and that? Well, that has nothing to do with it, but that could be some of the sentiment that is out there.
That's quite possible, but you see, I can remember my wife and I had this discussion, and she reminded me of a paper that I wrote when I was a sophomore in college. And the whole premise was the real index of any culture or society is the way it treats its women. And you take a look around the world, you know what I'm talking about. Well, here in this country, we have finally come to recognize the parity and the equality and the necessity to respect that. My wife made the point, well, just because we all play sports doesn't mean that when we're not in the sporting conventions that or arenas of competition, that does not mean we don't want to be feminine and feel feminine. That's not the issue. The issue is we don't want to be taken advantage of because we happen to be girls or women. And this is where I don't think that message has gotten across to the guys like Bladder and some of the others. And let's face it, some of the other nations that are involved and hold key positions are nations in which the men are permitted more than one wife, or male infidelity is kind of accepted as just, well, that's just how men are, and it's excused. And so, like Sepp Blatter, they have this attitude. And I just want to read this one piece from the article by Rachel Birch, where she said, well, she talked about Sepp Blatter. And Blatter is on record as having made sexist comments, including encouraging female athletes to wear shorter, tighter uniforms. Quotes, let the women play in more feminine clothes like they do in volleyball. They could, for example, have tighter shorts. He said in 2004, female players are pretty, if you excuse me for saying so, and they already have some different rules to men, such as playing with a lighter ball. That decision was taken to create a more female aesthetic. So why not do it in fashion? You know, I taught logic for 30 years. The analogy there just not hold, because we're going to give them a different ball. It's more manageable. That made it more female aesthetic. At any rate,
Well, it's not more manageable with the surface that they're playing on.
This is what, this is right. This is what my daughters and my sisters and my granddaughters and my aunts and my nieces have to put up with. I'm afraid I don't count much at all. You have a son, right?
I do, yes.
And that's so far, right? You don't have any daughters yet.
Just one kid, yeah.
And you got a couple of daughters, right?
I have one daughter.
One daughter who is, by the way, serving our country in the Army. And keep those caissons rolling along, okay? I just want to ask one more thing. You alluded to it before. How trapped into their customs are these European and other continental shakers and movers for FIFA? How are they locked in to their cultural views of women? And is that ever going to break at an international level? I'm going to ask Ben first and then you, because you are our expert Olympian.
Well, I would hope that they've seen the success of the United States team, the equality we have in the country here, and the way Title IX has affected things over the last couple of years especially. The younger generation of girls in our country, I think, are going to start playing sports, especially soccer, at a higher rate now that they've seen the success of this team. As far as Europe goes, hopefully they see the success we've had here in this country and they apply that to what they have there. But at this point, it doesn't seem like that's the case.
Well, let's not put all of this in the realm of the cultural aspect where they're just not getting it. They are getting it. We see, Chancellor Merkel in Germany, she's a female. She is the most powerful woman in the world. We see it here on the flip side of it. We see Hillary Clinton. We see women in key roles in that. All we have to do is continue to hope that there is going to be that element where some of the women from these soccer nations are going to be able to crack, so to speak, that glass ceiling. Once they shatter that, once they start getting into decision-making roles, then you will see some of the aspects of equality and equity try to come about. And one of the first things is going to be, if the men are going to play on grass, then the women have to too. If there's going to be a purse, there can't be so much of a disparity between 500 million and 35 million. There's just too much in terms of the relying on, it's sort of like college athletics where they say, we all know who's driving the train here, football. We all know who's driving the train there, men's football. And that's part of the problem. At some point, we will reach a level where there are some folks there that say, hey, take a look at it.
You touched upon something which could open another whole can of worms, but what they were told, what the women were told, was they needed to get more sponsorships if they wanted to have a bigger purse. Well, I was under the impression that that all would fall under the FIFA umbrella. You know, not like, okay, we're going to do it for the men, but you women go do it yourselves. And I do think that it's a function of culture, and I don't think that whether or not they have success in the World Cup is going to be mirrored by what they see with America's success. What they don't understand, and I guarantee you they don't understand in Morocco, is that our women play the way they do because they feel free enough from gender to go play that way, you know. And then when they get out of uniforms and they want to go to a ball and put on a ball gown and go dance, fine. But I mean, if you take a look at some of the presenters came out, to me it was like, what? That's like somebody going to a NASCAR and giving out the awards in, you know, something even more skimpier than Daisy Duke. It was just absolutely ludicrous. And my 9-year-old daughter said, "What are they wearing, Pop?" I said, "I'm not sure." They had stiletto heels on, which suggests things other than presenting an award to a woman. And these black dresses, and I like a nice black dress too, but fine, I can't find one that fits me. The thing of it is, it was completely out of the realm of the theme. And so I think that that's another thing.
Okay, the pomp and circumstance, I can agree with you on that one. But again, when we talk about the money disparity and how we view things, you have to go back and take a look at what the NBA did with the WNBA.
The NBA subsidized it.
They subsidized it to a degree, and they came out and said, now you have to earn your own sponsorship and go out and secure them and all that good stuff. So again, you have male-run entities that dictate to them. We've got to get away from that.
Yeah, you're right, and that's a good point. But I don't think that the Sepp Blatters of this world, who are controlling all of FIFA, are ever going to see women as anything other than the way they see them now, and therefore they're not equal. And then there's going to be
that very well could be the case, but those guys will be moving aside at some point.
Maybe so.
There's always change.
He's not moving toward this direction. I'm afraid he's going to get arrested.
I never said change moves overnight.
Anyway, we hope that you're as proud of our women's soccer team, or football, as the rest of the world calls it, as we are. And we hope that this program will bring to your attention some of the difficulties that they face. And as they proceed to the next one, perhaps we'll still have a few new stars that are coming along, and perhaps some of the little girls that are out there playing on the fields now will end up being on those teams. So for my panel here, Dr. Cromartie and Mr. Billman, thank you very much for tuning in. Please keep those suggestions coming on our email, that's sportstalk@ussa.edu, sportstalk.ussa.edu. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next Wednesday.